r/ask Reddit. What fictional death hit you the hardest? Littlefoot's mom on the Land Before Time. I'm still not over it 30 something years later. We just watched this with our 3-year-old daughter. I had never seen it before. It was traumatic to explain to my baby why the dinosaur would never see his mother again. 10 out of 10 wouldn't watch with someone that's never heard of death before. We warned our 3-year-old before watching The Lion King. He didn't really understand though because he kept thinking grown-up Simba was Mufasa. Boromir, I would have followed you, my brother, my captain, my king. The tall, the fair, but most truly, the redeemed. Be at peace, son of Gondor. Stands with tears in his eyes. They will look for his coming from the White Tower, but he will not return. Absolutely levels me, every time. John Coffey, I'm tired boss. Mostly I'm tired of people being ugly to each other. Me too. Man, me too. When he asks not to have the hood because he is scared of the dark, I just broke down. That was too much. Ellie, the old man's wife from Up. Ugly cry I tell you. Pixar told such an amazing story in that opening segment. The day Up came on theaters, we were just coming out of the doctor's office. My wife was pregnant and it was a girl. I started the movie pretty emotional already. I wanted something cheerful and joy. Man, we both cried, but I just cried and hugged my wife for the rest of the movie. I cried before and cried after. I've got teary-eyed, but never ugly cried like that. I remember Up fondly, but still never wanted to watch it again. Sirius Black, tough to read, and was definitely no easier watching it. Leslie Burke, Bridge to Terabithia. I was 11 and cried hard from the book and then quietly in the theater. The author wrote it for her son, whose best friend died when she was very young. He also was the screenwriter for the movie. Not just died young, she was killed by a freak lightning bolt. Because no one said it yet. Fred ducking Weasley. I sob so hard every single time. The worst part is that when his mother Molly was dealing with a boggart, it kept changing into images of her family members' dead bodies, indicating that her worst fear was seeing her loved ones killed. But the boggart depicted Fred and George both dead together. Not even in her worst fears did Molly think that one would be left without the other. I forgot about this and I'm fighting back tears now. Not a death, but Chuck losing Wilson in Castaway tore me the duck up inside. Tom Hanks has absolutely no right to be as good of an actor as he is. Wilson, I'm sorry Wilson. And it's the first time that we hear music in the film, I think, which just helps send you right over the edge. A Baron Martell. That was truly unexpected for me. I had to put the book down for a solid week after that one. Could not take it, and it's far enough along in the series that I knew to expect Martin to kill off characters he'd spent ages building. But damn. Ben from Scrubs. Where do you think we are right now? This was a tough one. I watched the entire series then turned around and started again. My wife sat down to watch this episode with me. I was looking forward to her reaction to the ending. About 15 minutes in, she says Brendan Fraser must be dead or something. He keeps wearing the same clothes. Moment. Ruined. The thing I missed the first time in that episode is the camera. One of Fraser's line is, in response to Dr. Cox asking if he'll always wear the camera, was until the day I die. The moment Dr. Cox finds out Ben is dead and Ben comes onto the scene, he doesn't have his camera. Alternatively, the rabies deaths. As someone who'd been involved with needless deaths in the hospital environment to no fault of any doctor or nurse. Goddamn, that hit hard. I personally have thrown a crash cart across a room and the pain Dr. Cox expressed was dead ducking on. Such an amazing episode showing what medical professionals feel in helpless scenarios. Tadashi in Big Hero 6. The dog's death from the movie I Am Legend. Having had a German Shepherd who passed away, imagine having to strangle your 4-legged friend who can only love and willing fought creatures to keep you safe. That was painful. Really painful. Sam was her name through the whole movie. As she died he called out Samantha. It was at that moment I knew she was a female dog, probably protecting him like a mother would. It destroyed me. I have never watched that movie again. Seymour. Jurassic Park Futurama. I openly weep every single time I see the final few moments. I have to skip that episode every time. Artax. The horse and the never-ending story. This needs to be higher. Don't give in to the sadness artax. Artax. Your horse in Red Dead Redemption 2. I had the same horse throughout the entire game and would feed and clean it. Bought it the most expensive items and obviously had a max rank bond. She wasn't the fastest or bravest horse, but October was mine. When she dies and Arthur stays with her to comfort her, I openly wept. I had recently lost my dog and couldn't hold back the tears when the scene came up. When she died, I knew I had to kill Micah. Micah's death, on the other hand, was immensely satisfying, and I am honored to have been the one to give him 6 shots of frontier justice to the head. When Buffy's mom Joyce Summers dies. That episode broke my heart when I was a teenager and I saw it. The first time I watched it after my mother passed away, it absolutely destroyed me on a whole new level. The entire cast and crew really just nailed it with that episode. It's so accurate. My mom died in a hospital, and when we had to go home, I just fell asleep on the couch. The next morning, the emptiness in the house really echoed in me. I even said mommy when I went to her room and she really wasn't there. Wash in Serenity. I came to say wash too. My boyfriend was sitting beside me, watching me, waiting for my reaction, and it hit me out of nowhere. The bastard. Had to be me. Someone else might have gotten it wrong. I am the very model of a scientist Solarian. I've studied species Turian, Aceri, and Batarian. I'm quite good at genetics as a subset of biology, because I am an expert, which I know is a tautology. My Xenocian studies range from urban to agrarian. I am the very model of a scientist Solarian. In books, Nymphadora Tonks. Somehow, despite her being a relatively minor character, her and Remus' deaths in Deathly Hallows just killed me. Both of Teddy's parents, gone, killed, out of scene. It was just tragic. In video games, Christina's death, seen through a memory in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Gotta admit, that one hit me hard for a while. Such a sad scene. Requiescat in pace, my love. I think with Tonks and Remus it was because it was so sudden and unexpected. I was really shocked when I first read it. Yondu. He was an ass in the first movie but redeems himself in the second. Oh god, yes. That scene kills me. He may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy. As a father with an adopted daughter and a foster son, this is the best movie line ever. Hodor. I was sad for a week. I hate Bran more because of this, and he also stole Hodor's entire life. And this ducker became king. Little shit should have died from the tower. I will never be a lord. Why do you think I came all this way? I've hated Bran since almost the beginning. But that shit right there, I legit wanted to throw my TV. Who else has a better story? Tyrion? Literally almost everybody else. John Wick's dog. The backstory behind it makes you hate the people that do it so much. Then when John goes a mass killing spree, you're like, yeah, they deserve it. John taking the dog that's scheduled to be put down at the end of the movie and taking it home is great. A final gift from my wife. In that moment I received some semblance of hope. An opportunity to grieve unalone. And your son took that from me. Stole that from me. Killed that from me. Hedwig. I love that damn owl. Dobby. Too. Sarah from The Last of Us. Barely had any time with her character, but hearing Joel pleading while she struggled to breathe. No other death hit me like hers. Excellent acting on both of their parts. I've played through the game about 5 times and still need a few minutes to wipe my eyes after it. Troy Baker went on record saying his early takes were a lot shoutier, angry, melodramatic, wailing why, God why, or something like that. Then, one day, he decided to change tack. He decided to be quiet, pleading, defeated. Something about the words, please, baby, hurts far more than a wailing cry would. You see that Joel is empty. Charlotte. No one was with her when she died. Commented on this in the thread. This is the saddest line anyone has ever written throughout all of time. I don't care if you're arachnophobic. The death of that little spider after what she did for Wilbur. Damn you, EB. As a side note, my mother passed away in the hospital this summer. From dementia. No one was with her when she died. My elderly dad had just visited her. I thought of this. Iron Man. It truly felt like a huge thing ending. I remember sitting there and crying when the lights in his arc reactor went out. Then once the movie was over, I sat there, dumbfounded and still crying, and just kept thinking about how I was 10 years old when I saw Iron Man 1 and I had no ducking clue the ride I just got on. I know the Marvel movies are nothing more than cheap popcorn flicks, but they have a special place in my heart because I've grown up with them and it feels like their journeys have become a small part of my life. Iron Man was the one that started it all, so seeing him go was just a huge ducking punch in the heart. Iron Man was in my life for 10 years. It was almost like a close friend. I watched him grow as a character over a decade. Watching him die, sacrificing himself, was like watching an old friend die. Tell me about the rabbits, George. Wilson from Castaway. Ugh, seriously, like, even though I know it's fictional and just a freaking volleyball, doesn't matter. Poor Wilson must have been so sad and lonely being lost at sea. Out of all the ones I've seen, Noble Team, especially Noble 6, from Halo Reach, there was part of me that wanted to say Cat. All of the others, so noble, heroic, sacrificial, but she was just silenced. They're 1 second and gone the next. It hurt. Jorge is also on the list. Tell them to make it count. Hank Schrader. So satisfying when Walt killed Jack. Han Solo. I'm a massive Star Wars nerd and it was really tragic for me. There was only ever one way that scene could have gone. Han Solo is no idiot. He knows that if his son and he were to meet and Kylo didn't kill him, then Snoke would punish him severely for his failure and no parent wants that. So, he could have walked away. Kylo Ben didn't know he was there until Han called his name, but Leia asked Han to try and bring their son home, and dang it, that's what Han was going to do. Rita from Dexter. That one smacked. I was so cringy at work the next day. I must have asked 5 different customers if they watched Dexter. I'm a plumber. I needed someone to talk to about what happened. The show should have ended there. That was such a powerful death. Ned Stark. Rob Stark hit harder. I went in having some idea that GRRM was a tough author, so I was suspecting that Ned was going to die. Afterwards, Rob was set up as effectively the main character, and I thought everything was going to be alright. Then Rob married Jean and I was kind of pissed at him, but I thought he'd smoothed things over sufficiently until the crossbows came out and I just kind of kept reading through momentum. I had to take a break for a while after that. Oof, the Red Wedding was rough. I heard the term Red Wedding before so I knew something horrible was coming, but wow, it was so horrible. Little Ann and the book version of Where the Red Fern Grows. They made us read this book out loud in like 5th grade, all sitting around on the floor. I had to leave the room because I cried so hard. Jiraiya in Naruto. The death itself is a sad scene, but the episode when Naruto finds out that he died is even more heartbreaking. When he's sitting on that bench with the popsicle, doesn't help that the soundtrack is so good. The 10th Doctor. I still cry every rewatch. He liked being 10th so much. He wasn't even my favorite, but his death still hits the hardest. Probably because all the other doctors went into regeneration with a feeling of acceptance, but he didn't want to go. Lieutenant Cole Henry Blake. Jim Hopper in Stranger Things. Let's be honest, he's probably still alive. Even with that, watching that scene for the first time really got to me. When I realized that Joyce was preparing to turn the keys, and that Hopper was in the gate room, I started to get nervous. Once I saw that the electric field from the key was blocking his way back, my heart sank, and when he nodded at Joyce, I freaking lost it. Grave of the Fireflies. First the sister, then the brother, the way the cremation was portrayed, and then the gradual loss of hope. Omar Little. Not surprised, but shocked. Macaulay Culkin in My Girl. Alexi from Stranger Things. Pause from OITNB did it for me. I honestly felt disconnected from the show after her pointless death. Professor Xavier in Logan. He was in the same mindset that my grandfather was in during his last few years. Patrick Stewart nailed the performance to the point I nearly walked out of the theater because it was too much. Also, Stewart has been a part of my life since the early 90s when I started watching Star Trek: The Next Generation. It was a triple whammy of emotions. The whole ducking planet Star Wars Rogue One. Ed Truck. Soap's death in MW3. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.